I referenced to all of you a little while ago and then never circled back to it, but now we get a chance to because of a new report. The news that I said, I feel like I saw somewhere that there's billions and billions of dollars that the Pentagon is desperately trying to spend before, a certain point in time so that they can continue using that size budget, right? A little surplus they were trying to spend. And Doge was telling us that there was so much wasteful spending, and that's why we have to cut investments in cancer research and social programs and health insurances because we don't have enough money. But then I saw a report about how much the Pentagon was just like, we're trying to spend all this money so that we can fulfill the full budget. Well, now we have specifics, okay? Look at this from the Daily Beast. Pentagon Pete blew a fortune on crabs in multi-billion-dollar spending. Sorry. Oh my gosh, my brain interpreted that as something very different than what it was. I did hear Pete loves strip clubs, so maybe he had to blow a fortune on crabs. But the Pentagon spent millions of dollars on luxury crabs and other food items in a single month as a part of a frantic end-of-year spending spree to maintain its immense funding. Now, let's go to The Office real quick, the TV show. There's a scene between Oscar and Michael, the boss, where Oscar comes in and says, we have a surplus of like $1,000. You will have to decide before the end of the day how we spend that money so that we don't get our budget reduced. And Michael says, explain to me like a child what that means. And he said, okay, I'm doing it. Okay, your parents gave you $10 for a lemonade stand. You go buy all of the things you need to do a lemonade stand, but you only end up spending $9. So next summer, when you want to do a lemonade stand, they're only going to give you $9 because that's how much they think it costs to run a lemonade stand. That $1 is the surplus. If you spend that, then they'll give you $10 next summer because you demonstrated that's what you need to run your lemonade stand. To which Michael says, explain this to me now like I'm even younger. And he didn't get it. Okay, so the x-axis. So that's what we're talking about here, but on a much bigger scale. And we're going to talk about in a second the cost of this war. But first, you just have them like, let's get luxury lobsters and crabs. Which, by the way, lobsters so overrated. An analysis by the government watchdog Open the Books found that the department led by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth spent more than $93 billion in a month, the end of the fiscal year, on various grants, the fiscal, as Michael would put it, on various grants and contracts. The highest total since at least 2008. Just the quickest pause for the video amid all of this chaos. If you do appreciate these updates, please click the subscribe button, click the like button. Both of those are completely free, but subscribe is the most important to support what we do. Back to the video. Included in this spending, when they're like, we got to spend all this money because we told them we needed it. By the way, give the soldiers more money or something. Was $2 million on Alaskan king crab, $6.9 million on lobster tail, $1 million on salmon. The Defense Department also spent nearly $140,000 on donuts, ice cream machines, $26,000 on sushi preparation tables, $15 million on ribeye steak. Shoo! The Pentagon tries to spend as much of its congressionally allocated budget as possible at the end of every fiscal year because of the federal use it or lose it rules. I just explained that with the lemonade stand from The Office example. Look at that. They have a photo of a crab. And then they gave out a bunch of contracts and stuff to spend that money. So that story that I saw in passing ended up being so very real. When Trump has now increased the War Department budget to a record high, $1 trillion. Do I want our military to be well funded? Yes. Is having a very powerful military important? Yes. Especially when the United States is the most powerful country in the world? Yes. Do we need $1 trillion annual military budget? Seems high. And you go, oh, well, you're not a patriot then, because that's not high enough. To which I say, really? Because they were burning money trying to spend the rest of their budget at the end of the fiscal year. So who's right now, buddy? And this war that we're in is costing at least $1 billion a day. But we didn't have, apparently, $8 million for making mice transgender, okay? So we don't have $8 million to make mice transgender, Doge says, but we do have $1 billion a day for a war that they can't even articulate. We don't have money for cancer research. We don't have money for Medicaid. We don't have money for food stamps, but we have $1 billion just sitting around a day for a war. We don't have money for drag queens in Guatemala or condoms in Gaza. You remember that story that they tried to lie about? But we do have $1 billion a day for this. The Pentagon used $5.6 billion in advanced munitions in just the first 2 days of its Iran war. Operation Epic Fury, more like Operation Epic Expensive. The news has sparked alarm on Capitol Hill over how quickly U.S. forces are burning through, America's most high-end weaponry. You have just so much money. It's been costing American taxpayers an estimated $1 billion a day, a pace that could push the total bill toward $215 billion as the conflict drags on through September. So you got, potentially we're going to spend hundreds of billions of dollars, depending on how long this goes. Okay? Which is enough money to fund a bunch of the stuff they cut out of social programs. Like, really comprehend that. When it's very likely we are going to end this conflict, war, whatever they're calling it, operation, special military operation, as Putin would put it, not being able to articulate what we accomplished. Aaron Rupar wrote, "The bottom line is Trump sacrificed 8 American lives and counting, and more than 1,000 Iranian lives and counting for nothing. He hurt the U.S. and global economies, destabilized the Middle East, and will pull out with the same Iranian regime in power. There's no silver lining, a senseless criminal waste." And why are we talking about that now? It's because Trump just started indicating with his language that he's looking at ending this war. He said it's going to be short term. He started to really specify that. That could change in an instant. Right. But it looks like he's going to try to declare victory maybe somewhat soon. I don't know for sure. And then say we achieved something. But we see we really haven't. Maybe we destroyed a bunch of their military capabilities. What does that mean in the long term? So they're not going to try to rebuild them? So they're not going to have even more reason to have stronger military capabilities, hoping that that will be a deterrent? It doesn't make any sense. But we have billions and billions to spend on it. Kind of on a similar... So remember, Trump came into office saying, we're going to be making so much money, we're going to be winning, you're going to be so tired of winning, and we're going to have money coming out of our ears, we're going to pay down our debt, we're going to get rid of income taxes because the tariffs, we're going to be bringing in so much money from China, not understanding how tariffs work. And instead, his landmark legislative action is ballooning the debt, okay? Adds a ton to the debt, trillions, in large part because of tax breaks for the wealthy. And then a war that now they're looking to go to Congress to get more funding for, apparently. You were spending all your money on crabs? And now you're going to Congress for more money? No, they're trying to get supplemental funding. Who knows if that'll pass? But he's been the opposite of good for the debt. I mean, he's been good for making it go up, bad for making it go down. But do you know what is actually good for the deficit? Immigrants. The Cato Institute, a libertarian think tank, is out with a major new research study showing that immigrants, both legal and illegal, contribute significantly more in taxes than they receive in public benefits. And there's more. Because immigrants, both legal and not, are such large net contributors of tax revenue, they also structurally reduce government budget deficits. So then let's add to the stack of things Trump is doing to increase our financial instability and financial irresponsibility with ballooning the debt, his actions against immigrants, which will also have a negative impact on the debt. That sounds like I'm saying it's going to decline. That will also increase Our deficits. Okay, there we go. That's the way that I wanted to word it. But we don't have money, as you can see here. According to them, for cancer research, the National Cancer Institute hasn't made a single grant this fiscal year, and that's being obliterated. So remember Doge? Do you remember? I mean, that feels like a lifetime ago. Do you remember that guy who ran it who was like, hi, and okay, maybe he didn't do that, but...
The left wanted to make comedy illegal.
They would find $1 million of spending that you go, oh yeah, maybe we didn't need to spend $1 million on that. And they'd be like, oh, everything's fraud. Oh, we got to cut every program, cut off funds to this and that, and freeze federal funding. And now they're wasting money like you couldn't imagine. But instead of it being money that could actually benefit a low-income American through a social program, it's money that's being spent on war or to make Trump's rich friends even richer. Boo.